सर नमस्ते।
नमस्कार जी, नमस्कार।
मैं पहले
ज्योत्सना, आप अपने को अनम्यूट करिए। हाँ,
she has joined. Her Excellency has joined.
तो ज्योत्सना, आप सब लोगों को एक बार म्यूट कर दीजिए और इसमें हमारे 5 गेस्ट अनम्यूटेड रहेंगे। ठीक है, और पीएचजीटी अनम्यूटेड रहेंगे। रेखा शर्मा जी को अनम्यूटेड रखिए, बाकी सब लोगों को म्यूट कर दीजिए।
खंडेलवाल साहब जब हाथ उठाया करें हम तो जरा हमारी भी सुन लिया करें।
हाँ, सुन लिया करिए हमारे
सर। आपकी तो कौशिक जी मैं सबसे पहले सुनता हूं।
अरे सर, पिछली मीटिंग में 4 बार हाथ रेज किया आपने, हमारी एक बार भी नहीं सुनी।
नमस्कार प्रभु।
So, with the permission of our president, I'm just starting this meeting. First of all, I heartily and warmly welcome all our guests, all our participants. This type of webinar we are organizing for international trade. It's the first time in the COVID, after the COVID time, and I appreciate Ms. Rekha Sharma for doing a very hard job for organizing this webinar. Friends, Uganda and India, we are having a very old and long business and trade relationship, and we are hoping that through this webinar and our collaboration, we are going to improve it. First of all, I would like to ask our President, Mr. Pankaj Kumar, to give an opening remark and start this webinar. Mr. Pankaj Kumar.
Thank you, Ashwani ji. Good afternoon and welcome everyone in this interactive meeting with the Uganda Embassy and Indian Industries Association. It's immense pleasure to welcome our distinguished and esteemed guest from Uganda, Her Excellency Ms. Grace Ekelo, High Commission of Uganda to India, Acting Commissioner for External Trade, Director SME Technology and Innovation, Uganda Investment Authority, and President of Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industries. I extend my gratitude to all my esteemed guests on behalf of Indian Industries Association. Senior members, my esteemed entrepreneurs, Central Executive Committee members, office bearers of National Body of IIA are also present in this seminar. I welcome them also on this occasion. First of all, I would like to introduce our organization, Indian Industries Association, which is called IIA in short. IIA is a national body of micro, small and medium enterprises, is an apex body of MSME, established in 1985 and headquartered at Lucknow, UP, and national licensing offices at Delhi with 53 chapters all over UP, Uttarakhand and Delhi. The objective of IIA is to promote, develop and groom MSME sector in India. To achieve our objective, we are working with state and central government to resolve the issues and problems and trying to frame policies which encourage the existing MSMEs and attract the young entrepreneurs to contribute in the Indian economy. Presently, 6.34 crores MSMEs are established in India, and approximately 18 crores people are directly engaged as employee and employer in the sector. So this is a very wide sector where the economy of India is based. And I'd be happy to tell you, madam, that after agriculture sector, this is the sector which gives the maximum employment. Pre-COVID, MSME contributed about 29% GDP, 45% export, and 40% manufacturing in Indian economy. So the importance of this MSME sector, you can understand. I would like to tell you something more about IIA. IIA is directly associated with high power committees of state government and some of the important committees of Government of India also, as National Board, MSME Finance, Corporate Affairs, QCI, and many others. So IIA is an active member of 36 consultative committees, board, expert group formed by Government of UP and Government of India. So, Madam, our Honorable Prime Minister have visited Uganda recently, and he was, because Uganda is very closely associated with India and they are very close friends. So our Honorable Prime Minister made so many announcements there of bilateral issues related to investment, trade, tourism and culture, diplomatic and political field. He declared Atmanirbhar Bharat. As you know, this is the mission in India, and very recently he declared as a mission this Atmanirbhar Bharat, means self-reliance Bharat, and we are also working on that. IIA is whatever the policy government frames and declare, then we work on them. So recently he has this feeling that the domestic consumption and export overseas after COVID-19. So as you know, this pandemic is all over world. So our Prime Minister has vision to create some such environment in India where the import substitution can be done at our level. So we are trying to make, we means all MSMEs, and as IIA is doing for this, we are trying to make this very conducive environment in our country, and trying to make bilateral relation with other countries also, those who are very close in the past also to India. So today I'm very happy to say that we are here to extend our views regarding the bilateral trade, establishment of industries in Uganda, industrial policies of Uganda, business and trade policies of Government of Uganda. So in the banking and finance sector also, in several other aspects of reference to Ugandan government. We are well aware of the relationship of India and Uganda. We are very closely associated since long. So keeping in mind, IIA also is willing to extend our relationship bilaterally in bilateral trade, technology and development and transfer, quality development, transfer and skill development, and entrepreneurship development. This is the initiative taken by our IIA International Affairs Group, and they organized this interactive session with Uganda High Commission to India to interact with our entrepreneurs and as a whole the MSME fraternity. I would like to say about our esteemed speaker who are coming forward, and they will give the note that our members are seeking how we can contribute in bilateral relationship with Uganda, what is the main environment, what is the geographical conditions. So something about the other country, Ugandan, uh, uh, we can call it as culture, and how we people are associated in the business with our present entrepreneurs who are established there. So in the end, I would like to request to all the speakers to address about present trade scenario, trade policy and incentive, current scenario of international trade from India and bilateral trade between India and Uganda, opportunities and challenges for India business to access Uganda, foreign investment policy, opportunities and incentives, plan and policies to the new business relation and ease of doing business in Uganda also, which will enable us to build up a strong relationship with Uganda. With these few words, I extend my heartiest gratitude to all the guests and entrepreneurs, my friends here. I appreciate the effort made by International Affairs Committee members to organize such a wonderful session. Thanking you very, very much. And I again give heartiest gratitude to my guests. The other guests are also present here. Dhananjay Singh ji, Mr. Dhananjay ji is here from FEO. I have not seen previously, but it is my privilege to welcome him also. So at the end of my address, I thank all of you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Pankaj ji. I request Ms. Rekha Sharma to read a brief profile of our president before our guests, so they can introduce with this profile. Ms. Rekha Sharma, will you please give a brief introduction of our president?
Madam, kindly unmute yourself.
Yeah. Shri Pankaj Kumar is an engineer, electrical engineer from MNR Regional Engineering College, Allahabad. He has started his career as lecturer in 1980 in Engineering College in Bhutan. He remained in the teaching profession for 5 years. In 1995, he shifted to an industry intending to gain industrial experience and worked as manager technical for 9 years. After gaining experience in technical institution and industry for 14 years, Shri Pankaj Gupta ji decided to set up his industry for manufacturing power transformers for use in electrical transmission and distribution by the name of a Power Tech Electricals Private Limited. This industry is operational in Meerut now for the past 25 years and giving employment to the needies. He is associated with IIA since 1994 and has held several positions in the association at chapter, divisional, state and national level in the past. Currently, he is holding the position of national president of IIA. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rekha Sharma. I'd like to again request you to please give a brief introduction of our esteemed guest, Ms. Grace Ekelo, High Commission of Uganda of India. So I request you to please present her introduction.
First of all, thank you, Ashwini ji. First of all, madam, I'm really very thankful to you that you have given us chance to collaborate with you and do something for our SMEs of both the countries. a short profile of Miss Ekelo is I'm putting in front of all of you, so that this is like prior to her appointment as Uganda's High Commission to New Delhi, Ambassador Dina Grace Ekelo worked as ambassador of Uganda in the Republic of Italy, accredited to Greece, Malta, Cyprus, Albania, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Croatia, Macedonia, Serbia, and Slovenia. She has also permanent representative of Uganda to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, World Food Programme, and International Fund for Agriculture Development. She holds a Master of Arts degree in Human Development and Food Security, Roma University, Italy, and a Bachelor's of Art degree in Social Work and Social Administration, Makerere University, Uganda. In her dedicated services spanning 45 years, Ambassador Grace Ekelo has served in various capacities in Government of Uganda, including as Minister and Member of Parliament, and in other global platforms such as the Commonwealth Secretariat, United Kingdom, and the East African Community, Kenya and Tanzania. Ambassador Grace Ekelo is married with 4 sons. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rekhaji. Her Excellency, Ms. Grace Ekelo, I heartily welcome you on behalf of Indian Industries Association.
Let me start by saluting the President of the Indian Industries Association, the Secretary General, the General Secretary, who is on the floor, distinguished members of the MSME community in India, ladies and gentlemen. I am very honored to say a few words this afternoon to you. But before I say anything else, I want to thank Madam Reka very much for her persistence. She has followed me and said, Madam, we should work together. We must work together on the matters of Ugandan development, which you want so much. And me, I want to support you as a partner from India. And I think this is the sort of relationship that has already been referred to, alluded to, that Uganda and India have long-standing ties. And when one Ugandan and another Indian, and yes, and time passes so quickly. But I know that I still have some time, and therefore I'm very happy to engage with you now, because this final stint of my work, the next few years, 1 or 2 years, is going to be the crux of the matter. Now, I want to refer to the President's speech, only one aspect of it, because he covered so many things. And I thank him very much for all those lovely comments that he made about Uganda. Mr. President, before I make reference to what I really meant to say, I want to invite everybody of the MSME, your membership. You should all come to Uganda. When you get there, you'll find that we have an old man who is sitting behind me here. I'm sure you can't see him, but I think most Indian people hold him very dear. And in Uganda, we call him Mzee. Mzee Gandhi is seated there at the source of the Nile, where he wanted his ashes to be sprayed. So the longest river in the world. So you find that it's not only Gandhiji who is in the Nile. There are so many Indians who have made Uganda their home. And for us, I grew up with them. I went to school with them. And even despite Idi Amin, we still have this very strong relationship, right? So, but what I wanted to say was that Prime Minister Modi did us proud when he decided to include Uganda among the countries that he visited on his trip to Africa in that journey in 2017-18. The Prime Minister brought Uganda very large of Africa. Of all the countries in Africa, the Prime Minister of India decided to pronounce his African policy in the Parliament of Uganda. We were so honored by this. And we feel that this cements a strong bond that exists between Uganda and India, in which India sees Uganda as the pearl of Africa that it is. So now, the beauty, the friendship, and so on aside, it's all very good for us to be friends. It's all very good for us to like each other, but that will not put food on the table. What is going to put food on the table is trade. What is going to put food on the table is production. What is going to put food on the table is for us to engage in activities which create wealth in Uganda as well as they create in India. And that is what we want to talk about today. I'm so glad that as I'm sitting here, I can see somebody there who looks like Mr. Mutahunga from Uganda, but I'm not sure. And I hope that the Ugandan team, including Mrs. Olive Kigongo of the UNCCA, has joined us. Mr. Chairman, you know, usually when people talk about growth, economic growth and development, you know, it sounds very, very, very big. And it can even be frightening. It can even be frightening. And you think, oh my God, especially when when you look at India, you know, first of all, India is a giant of a country in its own. Now, when you start looking at its production, you look at its sectors, agriculture, you look at its tourism, you look at its industry, everything is, you know, big giant. So you can easily get frightened of it. What I like about the MSME is that you have pulled down all those big giants and started doing things step by step, one by one, one by one, one by one. And one by one, when the Indians now do their display, and I'll tell you an example, a very, very important example. For example, the example of your Defense Expo, which you do every year. And 1.5 years ago, I was privileged to go and attend the one in Chennai, which was in Chennai. And you know, I went round just about every stall because I wanted to understand. And it was very interesting to find that some of the ones who are manufacturing critical parts in the defense industry, in the planes, they are SMEs. They are. We make this, we make that. I say, for what? For the defense. We make this, we make that. For what? For the planes. We make this, for what? For ships. And yet when all is put together, India looks very big. That's why I like the MSME approach. And as a Ugandan who is charged with the responsibility now, according to our 3rd National Development Plan, we are supposed to spearhead industrialization now, because we have a vision which is supposed to end in 2040. By the time 2040 arrives, Uganda is supposed to be a high middle income country with the per capita income of, say, $2,000 per head. At the moment, we have less than $900 per head in per capita income. So in order to get there, we have to go industrialization. Industrialization, again, can be frightening when you think about these huge industries with the production lines of this, production lines of the other. But this is where, again, you, the MSME, come in, because you enter at a small point and you start to build from this, and you build it onto strength. And this is the model that we want to copy in Uganda. So I'm very happy to talk to you, to engage with you this afternoon. I don't want to take all your time, but I want to say this before I conclude and give up the Ugandan people who are there and opportunity to interact with you. We are talking about trade, but you know very well that there can be no trade without production. So there can be no production without investment. There can be no investment before you have gone there to assess which areas are of interest to you and see for yourself what Uganda is like. Smell the country, eat its food, talk to its people on the street, and so on. So I want to say that this webinar here marks the first step towards us really seriously entering into a relationship with Uganda, which is mutually beneficial. Of course, when we talk about trade, for us, my president is very clear. He has told me we must balance the trade between India and Uganda. And at the moment, it is so unbalanced. Uganda imports so much from India, and India imports so little from Uganda. So our first opportunity might be, when we go there, might be to produce for the Indian market. But I want to assure you that Uganda has so many other markets which are open. So it would be very good if we all went there, your SMEs went there and found something that they could produce which was in demand in India. Okay, it would be very, very good. And that I would have considered myself very successful indeed. But equally, I would consider myself to be very successful indeed if India went there and produced items for which Uganda has markets in the United States of America, free entry. Uganda has markets under the African Growth Opportunity Act, free entry. You have, and we have never utilized it to any extent at all, not even 5% of it. So your MSMEs going there and producing whatever line they take, especially in the textile sector, they have a free market. Uganda has an arrangement, enhanced partnerships for Africa agreements in the European market. We have never been able to fulfill those. We have an opportunity open in the Chinese market. Although China may not be our friend now, that is a political military situation. But the interaction that we have of a China which has got an open market is something that we could take advantage of in Uganda. So let us go to Uganda. Let us focus our minds. Let us hear from those Ugandans who are going to talk to us this afternoon. And Reka, you just started, the journey has just started. And it's a big challenge which you have taken on. Because for me, I'll never let you go. I want us to take this, the next step, and it must concretize. I am not a young girl. I don't pose now. I don't want people to see how beautiful I am. Now, what I want is for people to see what I have delivered on the table. And what I deliver on the table is food. What I deliver on the table is clothes for the children in the family. What I deliver on the table is wealth, money in your pocket, so that none of us can suffer from poverty. I want to thank you for this, organizing this. And with these very many words, I would say I declare the webinar open. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Her Excellency. Our 98 participants were listening you very attentively. I'd like to thank you very much for inviting us for Uganda market, Uganda, and I'm having a very strong feeling that it will open a very vast field for the opportunities for both the countries. Your remembering Gandhiji really touched the heart of every participant of our association. As you stated, regarding the MSMEs, I'd like to tell you that more than 40% export of India is being carried by MSMEs. Now I'd like to again request Ms. Rekha Sharma to kindly introduce Mr. Emmanuel Mutahunga, Acting Commissioner for External Trade, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. I heartily welcome Mr. Emmanuel Mutahunga and request Ms. Rekha Sharma to please present her brief profile. Ms. Sharma.
Thank you, Ashwini ji. Thank you, Ashwini. First of all, I would like to thank you, Mr. Mutahunga, for giving us opportunity to connect with your department, and I'm really very, I just wanted to tell everyone that how easily available you are. So I'm quite sure that when our people will start working with Uganda, they will they will be guided by you very easily. Thanks very much. Mr. Emmanuel Mutaunga is an economist by training and holds a master's degree in economic policy and planning, Makerere University, a diploma in trade policy from the World Trade Organization Institute of Training and Technical Cooperation, Geneva, and an honors bachelor degree, economics of Makerere University. He is Commissioner for External Trade at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. Mr. Mutahunga has served as the ministry since 2003 and in process handled several technical strategic management assignments. He has been instrumental in drafting several policy documents such as the National Trade Policy, National Industrial Policy, National Export Development Strategy, the Competitiveness and Investment Climate Strategy, among others, developing, writing, and managing projects and engaging several patterns in the construct of policy formulation and implementation, as well as development in financing. He is the key trade negotiator for Uganda. During his career at the ministry, Mr. Mutahunga has, besides successfully managing 3 successive projects, been deployed as caretaker executive director of Uganda Export Promotion Board and 1 year as the caretaker executive director of Uganda Development Corporation for 2.5 years. Prior to joining the ministry, Mr. Mutahunga has worked with the International Food Policy Research Institute in the Trade and Macroeconomics Division, Uganda Country Office. Welcome you, Mr. Mutahunga. Over to you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, friends. I'm very much pleased to be here to share with you my thoughts and factual information. Before I start, allow me to appreciate the High Commissioner of Uganda to India, Ambassador Grace Akero, whom we've worked very closely together for several years, previously even before she was deployed to India, and even now in India, where she's continued to do the good work together with the staff at the High Commission, with whom we have had very useful engagements as this event was organized. I want to thank her very much, together with the team, and of course look forward to so much more of this kind, but also now to getting more of the investors coming here and the trade going in other direction. I want to thank the IIA, Indian Industries Association, the president, and all of you who have played a key role in organizing this. It is very timely. We could not have held it at a better time than this. Before I move into sharing with you what I have prepared, I want to inform all of you that together with me, I also have the commissioner in charge of MSMEs at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Dr. Joshua Mutambi. Is listening in, and in case there are any issues that need response or further take up at the MSME level in terms of facilitating them to get here, establish themselves, should be so much on hand to do that. We, as a ministry, as government of Uganda, are very much pleased to note that we are having a discussion on India, Uganda, bilateral trade and investment, but particularly with a focus on how we can use trade and investment to drive the recovery of small and medium enterprises from the devastating impact of COVID-19. That's why I pointed out that it couldn't have been a better time than this. I have about 20 or so minutes to share this with you. I'll be kind of rushing, but nevertheless, I'll focus on the key point. I'll start by pointing out that one, in terms of the trade regime between Uganda and India, I think that's the most critical thing that we need to start by appreciating. Under what framework do the two countries trade with each other? After that, then I'll look at the current trade, how the flows are. And within those flows, we should be able to already be picking opportunities as entrepreneurs. Now, in terms of the trade regime between Uganda and India, I want to highlight the following. Number one, that Uganda is a member of the East African Community. The East African Community is currently implementing a customs union and a common market. What that means is that the members of the customs union trade freely with each other. That is essentially duty-free, quota-free movement or transfer of goods between the countries or participating countries of the customs union. But also when it comes to the area of services, that happens under the auspices of the common market. The East African Community has a membership of 6. You have Uganda, you have Kenya, then Tanzania as the founding members, and these were later on joined by Rwanda and Burundi, and most recently, the Republic of South Sudan. Online to join the East African Community is also the Democratic Republic of Congo, which I'm very much aware that Indian entrepreneurs would be so much interested in. Then besides the East African Community, we also have the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, or the COMESA. Now, under the COMESA, you have a total of 21 countries, but within the 21 countries, 16 of them, Uganda inclusive, are implementing a free trade agreement or arrangement amongst them. Now, these 16 countries which are implementing a free trade agreement amongst them trade freely with each other, implying that there is free circulation of goods within those 15 member countries. And these are essentially the biggest economies of the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa. Then when we move away from the East African Community and the COMESA, or the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, we have now moved to widen our market internally by bringing together 3 regional blocks to form what we call the tripartite free trade area. The tripartite free trade area brings together members of the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, the East African Community, and then the Southern Africa Development Community, which includes the likes of South Africa, Botswana, and the like. So you have that, which guarantees you access to more than half of the African continent, but we haven't stopped there. As I guess most of you must be aware, we have recently concluded the African Continental Free Trade Area, the agreement which was signed in March of 2018, entered into force sometime last year, mid last year, around July. We should have started trading under the Continental Free Trade Area on the 1st of July of this year, but then the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted the preparatory activities, and we have since pushed this forward to 1st of January 2021. In effect, this membership of Uganda into all these regional integration blocks, from East African Community to the COMESA to the Tripartite Free Trade Area and then the African Continental Free Trade Area, provides a framework under which Uganda conducts its trade with India. And this essentially now relates when we are importing from India, the regimes that come in, but also in terms of domestic investment that relate to trade. Now, when we move on the other side of the coin, we find that within, besides the East African Community Customs Union protocols and the attendant annexes to that, we have the Indian duty-free, quota-free preferential market access, which is extended by India to all LDCs. The duty-free, quota-free preferential market access by India governs our exports. It was first introduced in 2008 and amended or updated in 2014. And to take you back a bit, the Indian duty-free, quota-free preferential regime was a direct outcome of the 2005 World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference that was held in Hong Kong, under which the WTO members decided that all developed country members and developing country members declaring themselves in a position to do so should grant duty-free, quota-free market access on a lasting basis for all products originating from all least developed countries, of which Uganda is a member, by 2008, or no later than the start of the implementation period, in a manner that should be deemed provide stability, security, and predictability. And we want to thank India for coming out and declaring themselves to be in a position to provide that, and indeed providing the preferential market access, under which our exports to India get into the Indian market. The preferential market access for India, or rather for LDCs given by India, covers about 98.2% of tariff lines at the HS6 level, effectively meaning that only 1.8 of tariff lines have been excluded from the preferential regime. Now, when we move down to break down this, we find that it is only 97%, rather 97 tariff lines, not percent, 97 tariff lines which are under the exclusion list. That is, they are the ones where India charges the normal duties. And then we have 114 tariff lines under which India gives some significant margin of preference. Now, other than these 211 tariff lines, all the other tariff lines can go into India duty-free, quota-free, if the products are coming from Uganda, provided you have made the other administrative arrangements, particularly those relating to rules of origin. Therefore, what has, how relevant is this? It would imply that if a prospective exporter who has set up my base in Uganda, and I'm looking at exporting into India, I have a margin of preference that my products will be allowed if I have produced from Uganda. We have looked at the utilization of preferences by our country and the previous and the other LDCs, and we know that, for example, around 2016, 17, 18, 19, the 2 financial years, the preferential scheme by India provided preferential market access by up to 96% of exports from least developed countries. Therefore, implying that we would need to focus more on how do we make utilization of this. I'll be sharing with you some figures on the market size of India and how much we are taking in there from Uganda, and therefore how much more remains untapped. But before I get into that, I want to summarize by observing the following, or re-emphasizing them. That one, Uganda runs a liberal trade policy, and as a result of running a liberal trade policy, we have very minimal restrictions on import or export. And the only restrictions that we essentially maintain are maintained for purposes of public health, security, or environmental concerns, or international protocols such as the Convention on that bans trading endangered species and the like. Then, besides running a liberal trade policy, I also want to point out that in effect, the trade between Uganda and India is governed by the External Trade Act of Uganda, as well as the EAC or East African Community Trade Protocols, plus India's duty-free, quota-free tariff preference scheme. So it's those two schemes that, rather those regimes that govern trade between our two countries. I limit my intervention to the trade aspect because I know we have a very elaborate presentation that will be made on investment. So I'll only be making general statements regarding investment as I go along the presentation. But I thought it's critical for me to begin by sharing with you the trade regime so that even as you think that of investing, you know that if I invest in Uganda, these are the other markets I can get into. And you've seen you have the East African Community market, you have the commercial market, you have the African trade area. I think somebody needs to mute. Yes, so we have that. Then you also have, of course, an opportunity to export from here into India free of duties, courtesy of the Indian government initiative to grant preferential treatment to least developed countries. Now let's quickly run to look at trade flows between the two countries. Our ambassador did hint on a few of them in terms of the principles, and really want to echo that by pointing out a couple of things. We import quite a lot from India as Uganda, but export so little. But I would not want us to look at that as a problem. I rather want us to look at it as an opportunity. Because I'll give you, for example, the figures. We note that in the financial year 2015-16, our exports to India were only 36.3 million US dollars, whereas our imports from India were 891.9 million US dollars, meaning that there was a trade deficit of 855 million US dollars. When we move further to 2017-18, our exports were 43.2 million US dollars against imports of 653.65 million US dollars. Then in 2018-19, Uganda's exports moved 51.5 million US dollars, and India's exports to Uganda were 888.2 million US dollars. In 2019-2020, that is up to June of this year, Uganda's exports to India were 665.9 million US dollars against imports from India of 712.2 million US dollars. Now, in all these years, the trade deficit is in hundreds of millions of dollars. In 2015, 2016, the deficit was 855.6 million US dollars. 2018-19, it was 836.7 million US dollars. And in 2019-2020, it was 646 million US dollars. And I want to encourage the MSMEs to look at this trade deficit as the potential investment market that these companies can come into and tap into. The Indian SMEs, Indian companies, can come into Uganda, invest in the products that are driving this trade deficit in here, then link that with the policy incentives that are in place, the protections that, of course, governments give across the globe to take a share of this market from Uganda, because the moment you're operating from Uganda as a company, it is easier for you to be able to drive competitors from outside out of the market than if you are producing just from India or any other country. And I guess or would want to believe that a market that is close to $1 billion is not a small market by any standard. And I'd encourage you to take a keen look by looking at what are the key products that we do import in high volumes from India, and therefore which drive this product trade deficit. And I run through a few of them. We have plastics. That's a key element that we would need to be getting from or producing from here. It's an investment opportunity, a trade opportunity. You have pharmaceuticals, very high area. Then you have machinery and appliances thereof, or products of Chapter 84 or 87. For those of you who are familiar with the HS coding system. So all these, to us, they provide an opportunity for enterprises on either side, either Indian or Ugandan, or even the possibility of partnerships, invest in these areas so that we can have stronger growth of total trade between the two countries, but also investment inflows. We note that the influence or the share of India in Uganda's trade deficit has been very significant, and it remains so. In 2015-16, India alone accounted for 43% of Uganda's total trade deficit. This figure dropped by 10% in 2016-17, and India accounted for 38% of Uganda's total trade deficit. And as of 2019-2020, India accounted for 28% of Uganda's total trade deficit. You may wish, as a prospective trading partner or investment partner, you may wish to find out who has taken this as a share that India had in driving Uganda's trade deficit up. And make it simple for you, our analysis indicates that it is China which is now driving, taking a significant share of Uganda's total trade deficit, followed by India. Whereas as of 2015-16, the main drive of the trade deficit was India, driven by China. So in a way, it means that Ugandans now import more from China than India, that can, in terms of the exportation, the net trade. From a business perspective, what this means is that somebody looking for a trading opportunity in terms of investment would now be asking themselves questions as what is it that we are exporting to Uganda, and can I go and produce it in Uganda? What is it that has led to China overtaking us as India in significantly driving Uganda's trade deficit? What are the products that the Ugandans are importing from China? And can we go and produce them in Uganda, given the policy protection that we would get? So these, to me, are critical issues that we think our enterprises on either side need to look at and be very, very, very well versed with for purposes of making investment decisions, trade partnerships like we'll hear as we go along the discussion. As I move to wind up, I want to look at or share with you what the incentives would be in terms of trade between the two countries, investment between the two countries. And I pointed out earlier as I started the discussion that I'll be giving the broad strategic issues. I know that in the course of the discussions, I think it will be the discussion on foreign investment policy, the opportunities and incentives. It will be possibly elaborating more. But from a trade perspective, let me quickly run through the following incentives. One is the preferential market access. I did talk about it at the start of my presentation. And this is in terms of preferential market access to the region through the East African community, the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa, then the tripartite free trade area and the African continental free trade area. But the preferential market access doesn't just stop at the regional market. We also have preferential market access at international level, and at international level, we have access on preferential terms to the European Union through the East African Community European Union Economic Partnership Agreement, but also the Everything But arrangement. We have preferential market access to the United States through the AGOA. Then, of course, also developing country markets such as India itself, China, the likes of Canada, and Korea, and so on and so forth. So these in themselves are incentives for increased trade between Uganda and those respective countries. Of course, for you to increase trade, you need to increase production, because you must first produce before you trade. And to us, this again provide very useful investment opportunities for companies of all sizes. The other incentive that I want to share with you is the liberal trade policy that the country runs. I elaborated this earlier on already. But also, besides the liberal trade policy, the complementary policies that we have in place, such as those related to investment, taxation, and management of the capital account. I'm sure that most of us on this discussion may already be aware that Uganda runs a liberal capital account. So you come in with your money, invest, make the profits, and when you want to repatriate, nobody stops you. But one thing that we are sure of is once you invest in Uganda, you usually will find no reason to move away. So instead of repatriating the profits, you always find it more economical to reinvest here and expand businesses. And that is what we have seen with our partners that have come in from India. The other element of protection that I should share with you is the protection that you would enjoy on the local market through policy measures. We have in place what we call Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, or BUBU, and a number of Indian companies that are established here already benefiting from that. Now, under that scheme or policy, there is preferential treatment that is given to establishments that are producing from Uganda or companies that are doing business here. I wouldn't move away from incentives without mentioning the strong and supportive institutions, such as the Uganda Investment Authority, which I'm glad will be sharing with us, the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, the Uganda Revenue Authority, and the rest, which have implementing measures that facilitate and quicken the business registration processes, but also management processes through the one-stop business center. We also have supportive regulatory and legal regime. And when I talk about the supportive regulatory and legal regime, I want to give some examples. Just basically two, we have in place the Public-Private Partnership Act and a full directorate responsible for implementation of the act. Then we also have the Uganda Development Cooperation Act in place, which establishes the Uganda Development Corporation as the investment arm of government. Now, under these two acts, it is possible for a private individual to partner with the government and invest in any viable strategic investment area. There are several other acts, but I wanted just to highlight those two. As I move to conclude, let me quickly run through some of the trade and investment opportunities that we could look at. One, I'll start with the agricultural production itself. It's very essential. We picked around some figures and noted that, for example, out of India's total imports of edible vegetables, Uganda's market share is less than 10%. To be specific, I think in 2017 it was about 3%, then improved to 11% in 2018. What would that mean? It means that there is an opportunity for producing some of these products here and selling them in India on under preferential rates. When you look again at products such as plastics, India imports lots of plastics, and with our oil industry that is coming up, the petrochemical industry would be an area where I would encourage Indian-based enterprises to start thinking of coming into the market. Then we have opportunities in agro-processing, that is producing food from the agricultural products that are produced here for the wider markets and for the Ugandan market. I'd also want to interest you in the services sector, particularly the financial services, where we already have banks such as Bank of Baroda and the Bank of India itself, insurance, education, and tourism, then light manufacturing, as well as mineral processing. So these broadly would be the areas where investments and partnerships with Ugandan enterprises could be considered. And I want to thank you very much and imagine that from this discussion, we'll be seeing more of partnerships between enterprises on our two countries. I thank you very much and remain available for any follow-up questions that may be there. Thank you very much. And over to you again, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel. Thank you for presenting trade scenario, trade policy, and incentives before our entrepreneurs. And I'm sure this knowledge will certainly make our entrepreneurs, will help our entrepreneurs. Friends, I'm very pleased to inform you that Mr. Dhananjay Sharma, Deputy Director, Federation of Indian Export Organization, is with us. I'd like to request him to present the current scenario, international trade from India and bilateral trade between India and Uganda. Mr. Dhananjay Sharma.
Her Excellency Ms. Grace Ekelo, High Commissioner of Uganda to India, Mr. Emmanuel Matuhonga, Acting Commissioner of External Trade, Ministry of Trade, Investment and Cooperatives, Mr. Pankaj Gupta, President, Indian Industry Association, Vice President of IIA, Shri Manmohan Agarwal, all the dignitaries who have joined us for this meeting from Uganda, and all the respected members of Indian Industries Association. I would be very brief in my presentation. One reason being that most of the points that I prepared for this meeting have already been covered by Mr. Emmanuel. So I remain with very little points to share with you. But to go with what points I have prepared, you may be having a question that how India's export sector have been affected due to the COVID. So I would like to brief you that in the month of April, we actually registered a very huge deficit of exports, and the deficit was around 60%. And it was a very, very worrisome sign that in a month itself, month to month, when we compare, it was a 60% deficit. And then in the month of May, we actually got a deficit of about 36%, and that was also very worrisome. But thanks to the opening of different economies in the Europe, US, and others, we are now actually making a deficit month on month for the month of July, August, and in the month of June also from around 10% to 12%. Today morning, we have the annual general meeting of FIEO members, and all the office bearers of FIEO were there in the meeting. And it was actually expressed that by the end of this financial year, India's export and international trade as such, hopefully if the resurgence of COVID-19 doesn't take place, it would be around 10%. And we should actually be very positive about it, because 10% deficit compared to the kind of global epidemic that we are having is something which is manageable. And our Indian MSMEs, the resilient exporters, have to be actually complimented for their efforts, through which actually we are able to sustain the India's export and import that is happening. That is the thing. And to give you little bit about in the figures, because I have only spoken in the percentages, India exports around $25 billion to $27 billion in a month. So in the month of April, when I say it was a 60% decrease, in April month, we only did around $10 billion of exports. But we have again started to do around 22, $23 billion of exports in a month. So most probably we won't be suffering that huge of a setback in terms of export and import that is there. But there are certain issues that are lingering, that have been bothering the exporters. May it be the incentives, may it be the refund of the GST and others. But FIO on its front have been actually taking care of that for the exporters. Secondly, Mr. Emmanuel has already covered these points. So I will only highlight on something which was not covered. When India in financial year 2019-2020, when the export have actually come down by around 5% overall in India, the export to Uganda actually increased by around 7%. And when import from the world in India actually came down in the same financial year 1920 by around 7%, the import from Uganda increased by 47%. So when you say that when export and import of India has reduced, but vis-a-vis a specific country when the export and import has increased, that itself is evident enough as statistics that there is a huge potential that the country is actually holding for us. And to cover the point which Mr. Emmanuel has already covered, that India actually has an agreement wherein duty-free tariff preference is available if you are actually importing from Uganda. I am sure before Emmanuel sir actually covered this point, or even I am telling this, many of us won't be aware of the fact that we are extending a duty preference tariff, wherein if we are importing from certain country, India is charging a substantially less tariff on that. So we should always look at this opportunity that when we are importing from certain products, if we are importing from Uganda, it would be a much cheaper, because you pay up less customs duty whenever you are importing the same product from the other country. So to brief you about a very useful portal that FIEO has developed specifically to understand these tariffs, how the India's free trade agreement and the tariff benefits which India has extended to different countries and different countries have extended to India. There is a very good portal which is there by FIEO, which we hosted for Ministry of Commerce. It is called indiantradeportal.in. A very, very useful portal if you are importing or exporting from India, because on one single portal, it covers around 90 countries, including 43 countries with which India has a agreement. So even Uganda is also covered in the portal, wherein for each tariff line, Emmanuel sir was telling that 97% of the tariff lines which are exported from Uganda and imported into India are covered under this agreement. So you can immediately find out what would be the import duty if you import this product from Uganda, and the concession that is available from you vis-a-vis if the same product is imported from the other country. So I would again be telling that the portal is indiantradeportal.in. in India, there are around 1.5 lakh active exporters, out of which 80,000 exporters are very actively using this portal. So I would request, if you are into export and import, kindly use this portal and to understand what would be the tariff implications. So I won't be talking much about the tariff implications, but as it was already expressed, that India is exporting pharmaceuticals, vehicles, plastic, paperboard, and organic chemicals. These are the major contributors of India's export to Uganda. And we are importing edible vegetables, certain roots and tubes, coffee, tea. India itself is exporting a lot of coffee and tea, but we are importing also certain varieties of coffee and tea from Uganda, and even spices, wood and articles of wood, wood charcoal, cotton, essential oils, cocoa and cocoa preparations. These are the major import of India from Uganda. So that was regarding the statistics. One little bit of input that I would like to add here, substantiating what Emmanuel sir was telling about the investment opportunities. India has actually extended 141 million USD of line of credit in the sector of electricity to Uganda. So anyone would like to actually invest in Uganda in electricity, he would be actually given the first preference, because India has extended a line of credit of about 141 million USD. So that is one of the sectors. And for availing that line of credit, Exim Bank from India would be there who can help you out with. Similarly, there is a 64 million USD of line of credit extended by India in the sector of agri and dairy sector. So again, if you would like to invest in agri and dairy sector, this line of credit is available from the government of India for investment in Uganda. I would just briefly try to then present the Indian diaspora that is present in Uganda. There is, because the fact that is there about Indian diaspora is very, very interesting, that there are around 30,000 Indian diaspora available in Uganda, and they have around investment of 1 billion USD in Uganda in last 2 decades. So already there is an Indian diaspora who is very vibrant and dynamic, which is offering a lot of jobs and into the manufacturing, sugar and other sectors, including banking. So when we are actually, us as Indians and MSMEs, if we are looking to investment there, then there is already a holding hand that would be available to us to look forward to. And very, very interesting fact that I was reading and which I came across was that the Indians there contribute only 0.1% of the population, but the direct taxes which they pay is around 70% of the taxes. So that tells about the strength of Indian community in the Uganda. So whenever we actually look at investing in certain country, we always look at Indian diaspora who are already there to help us, guide us, and obviously Ms. Grace Ekelo is there, and many other dignitaries from Uganda government have joined us. So they would be guiding us how to actually look at investment. And one point I would like to make, we are an export promotion body, but being an export promotion body, it is our MSMEs who grow large. And when they grow large, they want to go closer to the markets which they have been exporting to. So we are a body which would be looked at, wherein our large exporters would be the potential investors in Uganda. There was a delegation which FIU has led around 5, 6 years back of for a B2B meet in Uganda. And I would request if we can actually take another delegation there, which could be official delegation, not at present because of the COVID, but certainly this COVID period is going to end. And whenever it is going to end, we can look at actually taking a delegation there. And I would also request if there is a delegation coming from Uganda, uh, IIA and FIO could be looked at to actually have a one-to-one meeting between the MSMEs of India. So with those points, I would like to conclude my presentation. I would have to take leave because I have a flight to catch. But any of you would like to actually get in connect with FIE or me personally, my contact details are available with Rekha Madam. you can contact her, take my contact details, and then we would certainly be there to actually help you out with your export and import ventures. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank IIA especially for giving us the opportunity and the platform to come and address you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dhananjay ji, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dhananjay ji.
Thank you, sir. I will take your leave now, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. So, friends, now the opportunities and challenges for Indian business to access Uganda. On this topic, our Senior Vice President, Mr. Manmohan Agrawal, is going to have a talk with us, and I'll request Ms. Rekha Sharma to present a brief profile of Mr. Manmohan Agrawal, our Senior Vice President.
Thank you very much, Ashwini ji. Mr. Agrawal belongs to reputed industrial house in Lucknow, dealing in the manufacture of paints and pigments. He is a science graduate, gold medalist from Lucknow University, 1978, and a chemical engineer from UDCT, Matunga, Mumbai, 1982. After completing chemical engineering, Mr. Agrawal served industries in Gujarat as chemical engineer for 6 to 7 years, and in 1989, he launched his own industry by the name Manali Pigments Private Limited in Lucknow, which is the only pigment manufacturing industry in the entire North India. The products of company are well established internationally now and are being exported to South America and European countries. Mr. Agrawal joined the Indian Industries Association IAA in 1994, and since then has been taking an active part in promotion and development of industries through IAA. He has served IAA in various capacities to date, including Chapter Chairman, Lucknow Chapter, Secretary, Vice President IAA, General Secretary at the national level, and currently the Senior Vice President of IAA at the national level. Over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Rekha. Now, good evening to everybody. From Indian Industries Association, I would like to welcome the High Commission of Uganda to India, Her Excellency Mrs. Grace Akelo, and Commissioner for External Trade, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Mr. Mutuhunga, Director SME, Technology and Innovation, Uganda Investment Authority, Ms. Lawango, President of Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Ms. Kingono, and Deputy Director FIEO, Mr. Dhananjay Sharma. I am really pleased to have you with us for doing such a wonderful discussion for the mutual benefit of MSMEs for both the countries. If I am not wrong, industries are very limited in Uganda. The most important sectors are the processing of agriculture products, manufacturing of textile, production of beverages, electricity, and cement. Friends, Uganda MSMEs are also categorized based on the turnover, same as Indian MSMEs. Uganda MSMEs contribute a maximum part of GDP by the percentage of around 20%. The majority of sectors in Uganda are dominated by MSMEs. In India, as per the new definition of the MSMEs, now defined based on their turnover, MSMEs are the growth accelerators of the Indian economy, contributing about 30% of the country's GDP. It shows that MSMEs are a more significant portion of the country's economy. India always wants to extend its trade boundaries beyond its limit. That's why our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji announced a 200 million US dollar a loan facility for Uganda, targeted at the energy, agriculture, and infrastructure sectors during his visit in Uganda in 2018. Uganda imports from India worth 817 US dollar, which is 817 million US dollar, and export to India around 40.98 million US dollar during 2018, as per the United Nations database on international trade. So the Indian market is very open to Ugandan products, especially agriculture produce like tea and coffee, plus processed juice, and these offer tangible opportunities for local investors. Now I would like to discuss about with you regarding opportunities in Uganda. There are ample of investment opportunities in Uganda for Indians. First of all, Uganda has more comparative advantage to do business with India as compared to other countries in the region because of the favorable environment between the two countries. Next is the reason Indian business communities are already playing a big role in the growth of the Ugandan economy. I think just as my friend told, that almost as much as 65 to 70% of the direct taxes in Uganda are being paid by the Uganda Indians. So today, Uganda has a liberal and open capital account and a robust financial services sector. So it also offers a safe and secure environment. Young professionals too are now moving to Uganda. So the liberal economy allows 100% foreign owned investment and free inflow and outflow of capital in Uganda. Technology transfer from India to Uganda to enable Uganda to increase its productivity and add value to its resources. So very easily we can transfer our technology from India to Uganda. Next is the doing business environment has improved tremendously with the establishment of a one-stop center for investors at the Uganda Investment Authority, wherein all the formalities can be done with easy access. UIA, that is Uganda Investment Authority, is compiling bankable projects in various sectors, especially agro-processing, since in Uganda, plenty of water is available. Also, the IT sector, tourism, and mineral beneficiation to market to potential investors in India. India has one of the highest investment in Uganda and has been among the top 5 FDI inflows countries. Uganda's national development priorities are in the infrastructure development, energy, and most definitely agro-processing. For this, Uganda is in the process of compiling investment projects that can be taken up by fully private companies and public-private partnership arrangements. Uganda and India did sign a double tax agreement in 2003, which has been in effect since 2004. This should continue to facilitate, enhance, and increase investment and trade. So various other bilateral agreements have been signed, including cooperation in agriculture and allied sectors. So Uganda invites India as a long-term developmentally to walk this development track together for the good of the people in both the countries. Return on investment, that is a very important subject. What is our return on our investment? It is about 5%, projected to increase about 7% due to ongoing and planned infrastructure. So Uganda's priority sector for investment are commercial agriculture, agro-processing, adding value to minerals, oil and gas, information communication technology, tourism, packaging, pharmaceuticals, education, finance, and health. Majorly part of these sectors occupied by MSMEs. India is now global manufacturing and startup hub, and many of the Make in India products, including cars, and smartphones, etc., are now capable to export to Uganda. Now I would like to discuss with you about the challenges. So, in my opinion, our first challenge is the political, economic, social, cultural, and environmental factors may cause hurdles for Indian businesses to operate in Uganda, which we thought you all may assist to us. Startup factors pose a greater threat than those that are encountered once the business has been established. MSMEs are the more crucial part of the economy, so both governments should have to think about how facilities can be provided to so that setting up of business and trade will be easier. As you know, this COVID impacted the whole world and created a full stop on business operations, especially it strongly hit the MSME sector, and it may also impact the trade between India and Uganda. So as an entrepreneur, we may think twice before start their operations in other countries due to pandemic. To eliminate this fear, both of us have to take most favorable steps in assisting to make run MSMEs successfully. So this virtual meet for SME Trade Connect will definitely come with some positive solutions and associations which may provide new hope for MSMEs so that they know how they can push their businesses boundaries in Uganda and create healthy trade relationship between both the countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Manmohanji. Friends, now Miss Vinny Lavoko Olwe. She is going to present foreign investment policy opportunities and incentives. So, first of all, I'd like to request Ms. Rekha Sharma to present her brief profile. Ms. Rekha Sharma.
Thank you, Ashwini ji. Thanks very much. First of all, I would like to thank you, Vinny ma'am, for joining us and giving us your valuable time. Miss Vinny Lavoko Olwe is a marketer, social entrepreneur, a woman activist, and social development specialist, and a business owner of 2 enterprises. A holder of MBA in entrepreneurship. She is pursuing PhD in Public Health Department of Injury and Epidemiology. She possesses an invaluable knowledge, experience, and skills in sales, marketing, entrepreneurship, hotel and hospitality, telecommunication management, and ICT for development. Founder of Associated Children's Empowerment Network, co-founder Newgen, and in the public sector, Vinny is a board of director of Opportunity Bank Uganda Limited and held numerous board positions, including vice chairman of National Physical Planning Board, board chairperson of UWECT, board of FAWE Uganda, and coordinator, currently holding the following board positions: board member, Opportunity Bank Uganda Limited, board of directors and chairperson of the compensation committees, board member 3D Services Limited, board member iNetwork in change of stakeholder management, founder member of BPW Kampala in charge of projects, founder member of FAWE Uganda, regional coordinator North, member of FUTI, Federation of Uganda Tourism Initiative, member of Uganda Wildlife Societies. Well, we welcome you, Ms. Vinay.
Thank you very much. I am I am glad to be here. And I would like to, first of all, take this opportunity to thank the Indian Industry Society. I'd like to also recognize Her Excellency Ambassador Grace Akello, who I have worked with and greatly admired when she was the Minister of Tourism in Uganda. And I do think that she is well positioned to deliver this, which we are starting today. I would like to thank my colleagues who have presented, Emmanuel, and I would like to congratulate the team of, from Ministry of Trade, who have taken a great initiative to talk about the broad base of incentives that are available for partners in this area. To Rakma and Sophia, thank you so much for always reminding me to be on time for this and also to take the time. I am happy that I have been able to take this opportunity to be here with you today. I think a lot of what my paper is supposed to be presenting the foreign investment policies, opportunities, and incentives. I am going to spend my time looking at what Uganda Investment Authority does. And I will start off by saying Uganda Investment Authority was established under the Investment Code Act of 1991. And as we know, the investment environment is a very dynamic area. The investment code was amended in 2019, and it is now in full implementation. It's also important to note that Uganda Investment Authority is the leading agency of government for the purpose of coordinating, encouraging, promoting, and facilitating investment. As I say this, I say it with a lot of humility because in facilitating investments in cross-cultural areas can be rather challenging for FDIs. And I would like to allay to Mr. Mahmoud Gawal that issues to do with economic and social embedding into the sector, Uganda Investment is there to support both FDIs and DDIs, and especially where SMEs are concerned. Now, Uganda Investment Authority also advises government on investment policies and related matters that are designed to promote a competitive business environment. And we do believe that we have actually been able to promote a very enabling and competitive business environment. And that is why across the nation, you see that embassies abroad are able to ably talk about the Uganda environment and the leadership environment. Now, in terms of alignment to our mandate, there are crucial areas that the Uganda Investment Authority takes as very important. Our program deliveries are aligned to the National Development Plan 3, which Her Excellency already talked about, what Uganda desires are. It is also aligned to Vision 2040. And specifically for this engagement, we are looking at the National Industrialization Policy and also the SDGs goals, which plays a great deal in the strategic interventions and targeted areas. Now, in terms of target, we're looking at the targeted areas of import substitution or import replacement, but at the same time, we are also looking at export promotion. As an agro-based country with numerous raw material, we would like to see that export is triggered out of this country. Thirdly, we look at job creation and employment creation. And notably to say, it's very important to note that Uganda is a very young young population. I think the second youngest in the world after Cameroon. And that means that we have a population that would easily take up mechanization because of the times in which they have been born and the mechanizations around. We also would like to say that Uganda is a very, very highly placed entrepreneurial country. And that, I think, for SMEs or for businesses, both FDIs and SMEs, we know that is a lucrative state in terms of creating the value chains. Now, coming back to the mandate of Uganda Investment Authority, we have about 26 areas of interest. A number of them have been listed, and if you are able to look at the Uganda Investment Authority, we look at packaging industry, the transport industries, pharmaceutical industries, and commercial farming. And we believe that out of the 26 list of investment areas of our mandate, the SME sector and the Indian Industrial Association would definitely be able to find lucrative areas in which to do business. Allow me quickly now to look at Uganda's liberalized economy, which we can say comfortably is very good for business. Now, one, it is mandatory for all foreign investments to be licensed by Uganda Investment Authority. And why do we say it is mandatory? It is mandatory because we believe unless you are known as an investor in the country, you cannot easily be identified for the incentive regime. And if you don't identify yourself with the incentive regime, then you probably grapple in the business area, and we do not want any investor to be leaving the country unhappy. Now, in terms of threshold, we have the threshold is also very attractive. We have a minimum capital investment threshold of just $250,000 for you to be eligible for an investment license. Now, an investment license creates a lot of incentives in terms of investments across the different sectors, some of which will include tax holidays for a couple of years. Now, all sectors are liberalized for investment. So you can, out of all the 26 sectors we've talked about, all sectors are liberalized. Now, the other advantage is you have 100% foreign-owned investments are permitted. In some countries, you find that if you went as an investment, you had to actually partner with a local to be able to benefit from investment incentives. Number 5, we also have a free inflow of capital into the country and out as permitted and as desired by the investor. Now, in Uganda, land belongs to the people. However, the government has created an enabling environment that non-Ugandans can purchase land on lease of up to from 49 to 99 years to be able to realize their investment potentials. We also allow free repatriation of profits. And I think the commissioner has also highlighted the regional economic blocks that investors coming into Uganda can benefit from. The investment legal framework is also guided by the investment code, which has been actually carefully selected and carefully identified to be able to allow businesses across the road. Lastly, Uganda Investment Authority has a one-stop center for investment for the formalization of all investments. And there are sectors that require regulatory approval before licensing, and these include energy generation, pharmaceutical manufacturing, mining, as well as education, health, and financial services. Now, UIA is well placed to assist you with this information. And at the end of this, presentation, we will send out information on how you can access our eBiz platform so that you are able to see what you require to do and some of the things that you can even be able to do in this age of technology, be able to do remotely to understand where your investments are coming from. Now, the investment, the general investment incentive regime has 2 key areas. Government has provided various fiscal incentives through the respective tax laws, which makes it non-discriminatory. Now, broadly speaking, the investment incentives are available for all sectors. There are also sector-specific, apart from the general, there are also sector-specific, especially in the areas of agriculture, transport, education, manufacturing, and energy sectors, in order to encourage investment in these sectors and also generate employment for nationals. We believe these are sectors that can actually become highly mechanized in terms of mechanization, but we also believe generally that it will create employment. Allow me to quickly look at certain, highlight some additional qualifications for incentives at this time. The first one is that if you are an FDI, you are expected to have a capital representation of up to $250,000. But if you're a DDI, hello? Can somebody mute? Thank you. It also favors the 26 priority areas specified in the investment code. Now, it is important to note that these 26 priority areas have been even further highlighted to 14 areas that are highly high opportunities that have come out as a direct impact of the COVID, and the realization is that these are high priority areas for industrialization. It also looks at exports as a minimum of 80% of the goods produced and provides for substantive substitution of 30% of the value of imported products. And then 70% of the raw materials used are sourced locally. So we are looking at those who are going to source material locally, be able to mechanize it and then export it. It also looks at those that directly employ a minimum of 60% of citizens, or those who are going to introduce advanced technology for upgrading of indigenous technologies. So those are some of the incentives. Now, I want to quickly dive into the opportunities that are there. The opportunities that the SME sector would directly get involved in terms of participation and in terms of government priorities. The first one on the agenda is the food industry. The food industry is a lucrative area for transformation of Uganda, because over 5 million Ugandans are actively involved in agriculture. Now, we produce 5 million tons of maize yearly. In addition to that, Uganda produces about 1.76 million tons of beans and other pulses. Uganda also is well positioned in such a way that we have a wide variety of food work. And the ones I'm highlighting, the 7 I'm highlighting here, are critical areas where we believe if this partnership is to go on and there is direct job creation and transformation and mechanization, would go a long way in impacting the Ugandan community and actually driving the road to a middle income country. We produce currently 1.4 million tons of cassava. Cassava is a base product for a number of products. Ethanol is one of them. The starch that is of high demand in terms of export. Cassava is also a good product in terms of substitution of or supplementing the wheat area, but also in terms of paper industry. We also produce 6 million tons of sugar, 5 million bags of coffee. In the animal husbandry area, Uganda rears about 14 million heads of cattle, 14 million goats, 50 million chicken, 1 million sheep, and about produces about 477,000 tons of freshwater, of fresh lake fish. The second area that also we think is an important one is the clothing industry, which would be looking really at the leather industries and also through the manufacture of shoes, bags, and a number of other things, and also the cotton industry, which we think is one of those commodities that are demanded for worldwide. And the third one within our SME area is the medicines and the medical equipment and veterinary inputs. Now, it's important to note that these opportunities that lie in these areas have ready raw material and the ready population that would uptake this. And with the facilitation of Uganda Investment Authority, we could share a number of bankable products that can be discussed, and we can broker discussions in terms of partnerships and linkages. I want to quickly, talking about opportunities without talking about how the SME Directory of Uganda Investment Authority can facilitate this discussion would have missed out an important link. Now, to assist potential investors, UIA would assist you in identifying and linking SMEs to strategic partners with a view of accelerating job creation and enterprise growth. The second thing that the directorate would be looking at is to promote, attract, facilitate, and register, and support in the areas, especially when you talk about economic and social integration of SMEs from the Indian community coming into the Ugandan environment. We also would facilitate in terms of creating, one of Uganda Investment Authority's big mandates is the development of industrial and business parks across the country. We currently do have, for those who are in commercial farming, we have to be able to excel. But we also look at the science and technology transfer, and here we look at incubation centers. And within every industrial park, we have space for FDIs who would like to come and set up, whether it is an assembly line for products that SMEs can benefit from in terms of job creation, but also benefit from import substitution of electronic equipment and a number of others. So we have specific land within the industrial and business parks that are dedicated for SME incubation and transfer. And we believe that the linkage between the SMEs of India, who are in terms much larger than the SMEs in Uganda, would create a nice linkage for technology transfer and subsequent job creation and employment creation. As I conclude my presentation, I'd like to say that Uganda Investment Authority is that partner that would help in the establishment and the establishment and grounding of FDIs of whatever nature, starting from 250,000 US dollars and more, to be able to grow. We currently have 5 industrial parks already across the country, with the biggest one being the Kampala Industrial Park. We do have SME spaces within that, and as long as you have an investor license, you qualify for land. And currently, the land that we provide at the industrial park does not carry the premium land request, but we look at the alignment in terms of the business you are planning to do, and also the impact of that business in terms of GDP, and also in terms of the amount of jobs that it would create directly and indirectly. I look forward to answering questions and to taking this discussion to the next level. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Olwen. I may assure you that MSCs of India will certainly join hands with you and will walk on a long path. Now, Ms. Olive Kingongo President of Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industries. She is with us, friends, and she is going to present her presentation. Before that, I'll ask Ms. Rekha Sharma to introduce her with our members. Ms. Rekha Sharma.
Hello, Miss Olive. We welcome you. Ms. Olive Kigongo is President of Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, UNCCI, since 2003. During her career, she has served on different private public sector bodies, Uganda Investment Authority, National Council for Higher Education, member of National Planning Authority, member of Presidential Economic Council, executive member of World Chamber Federation, member Islamic Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, among others. A businesswoman in different sectors: tourism, manufacturing, real estate, home and office furniture retail. Ms. Kigongo is an interior designer by profession. We welcome you. Over to you. Hello, Miss Olive. Do we have Miss Olive here?
She was there. Yes, there she is.
Yeah.
Yes. Ms. Olive, we are just eager to listen to you.
Just
Ms.
call
Olive,
her.
are you listening me? हाँ देख जी आप कुछ कह रहे हैं?
मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि just call her again.
I'm calling regularly.
I think the voice is not reaching there.
Okay, I'll call her. I'll call.
Ms. Olive, are you listening me? I think she's not. No, she's unmuted.
She's there. She's.
Yeah, she is there. She's unmuted. But she's not responding. I think she's not.
Mobile number, Rekha ji?
So, Sophie, can you contact her? Sophie. Yeah, I have her mobile number. I am calling her.
Write message.
I have written her a message.
Okay, Joseph. Right.
Ms. Kagona?
Yes, please. Yeah, I messaged her.
Hi. Hi, is there Miss Olive? Miss Olive is there? No.
There is some confusion, Rekha ji.
I don't know.
I think she's not there. I think she's not there.
Maybe we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then let's proceed.
Yeah.
Friends, I'm sorry that Ms. Olive is not present. And though it's time to question answer session, but before that, I'm very much pleased to inform you that Mr. Sanjeev Patel, the third generation Ugandan of Indian origin, having a very big business house there in Uganda, is with us. And I would really like to invite Mr. Sanjeev Patel to join us, and he already has joined us, just converse with us and share your experience with the entrepreneurs. Mr. Sanjeev Patel.
Thank you very much. I presume everybody can hear me.
Yes, we are hearing you.
Your Excellency, lovely to see you again. So nice. A pleasure. working with her. And the rest of my colleagues from Uganda, who are hard sellers of Uganda. So thank you very much. And I probably will try to join the line of theirs to sell Uganda to you all. But I'm not selling Uganda, but I'll tell you the factuals of things, what is happening, because we are on ground. I spent 16 years in India studying over there. So that gives me a better advantage to understand both the sides of the culture and ways of doing businesses. I did mention in one of my notes in this one itself that any of you who's trying to do first time your business, excuse me, out of Africa, out of India, and or first time in Africa, you couldn't have chosen a better country than Uganda. That I can tell you.
Right.
Statistics you have already got. Statistics hota rehta. I mean, everybody gets the statistics and everything. And as Indian businesses, we look at the bottom line. That is what our stand is, with some of the statistics you get, but bottom line. Yes, we are a small economy compared to India. And that is what I said. I know the FDIs, the UIA is talking about, I'm so happy for the first time, and Your Excellency, you took that step. I'm really appreciating that we have taken a look at the small scale and medium scales. To my colleagues from Uganda, in India, you know that a medium scale industry is probably a large scale industry for Ugandan standards because of its economy and that's thing, you understand. And hence also, I keep arguing this with UIA also a lot of time that foreign investments, which we are talking $250,000 in India is almost about 3 crore rupee ho gaye, right? It's about 3 crore. Now 3 crore industries is quite a lot of money in Indian standards. While there are smaller scale industries which can employ more and this thing. So we have both the sides. In India, we have a problem also. And in Uganda, we have certain issues also. And I'm going to be, as I'm saying, I need to balance things out. So industries should be looked in a way at what they're going to create for the country. Not how much money they're bringing in, but what they're going to create for the country, which is a very important part of it. But at the same time, at this moment of time, I have been very vocal about this, that as much as all these, we love that Indian business houses or Indian houses or small or big or large scales come to invest in India. But our export to India is what worries me. What worries me. And I have been, with Rekhaji, I've been talking about it, and Her Excellency knows my stand. I'm sorry, but India's policies keep changing all the time. And I don't like the word that Indian government is coming to help us. No, it's a two-way traffic. There's no muft ka koi kuch nahi karta hai. You understand? We need to work. I'm just giving you what Vinny very nicely told about pulses. I am one of the instruments. I was the first one to put in 1992 when we had a civil war going up in the north. I put up a pulse mill in Uganda. We have one of the best dal jo bolte hum, pigeon peas. We have one of the best if we grow it over here. Yeah, Modi ji aye the, they came and said, yes, we will. But when it comes to export after processing, no, we cannot take process, we'll take the raw material. It doesn't work like that. We also want to, as Uganda, we also want to do some value addition before we send it to. So, Your Excellency, why I'm talking this is that you need to take it up with the authorities over there that these things work for us both ways. Other than that, and I'm not saying because my Ugandan brothers and sisters are over there, but the best people in the world, the mildest people, you might hear stories all over the world. There are rotten apples all over, but the best people are in Uganda. If you come and do your business over here, I promise you, you will not go wrong. I agree. Everybody, because it's it's new waters, different lifestyle. You need to come and experience it. Come one time. Come look at India. All people, sorry, Vinny is asking you to invest 250,000. I tell Indians only invest $2,000. Your air ticket and your hotel accommodation and some food. Come and see my country first. Come and see my country. Then come and invest.
Good.
So I leave you there. This is, I've sent my numbers if you need. I'm the PRO for the Indian Association. Indian Association of Uganda is a 1922 established institution. It's a very old institution. We are there for everybody, especially to build bridges and make soft landings for Indians who want to come to Uganda. Thank you very much. I leave you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev. It's very nice to hear you. And now, friends, it's the time for question and answer session. Mr. Bharat Pandey, he was willing to ask some questions.
Good.
So I asked him to, if he is listening me, Mr. Bharat Pandey.
I see Madam Kagona in the background. I don't know whether she's representing or she wanted to make a contribution. From Uganda, excuse me.
Yeah.
I see Madam Kagona in the background. I don't know, Mr. President.
Yeah.
I don't know whether she'll have an opportunity.
Definitely she can. Definitely she can. Yeah, Ms. Kagongo. Are you there? Ashwini ji, एक बार उनको बुला लीजिए.
Reka, I think she was talking of Madam Kagona.
Miss Kagona is here.
Kagona. Yeah.
Kagona, not to speak. Yeah, you share your views with us.
There's some confusion, I think, in name. Ms. Kagona. No, she's Kagona, and we are asking for Kigongo.
Yeah, Kagona.
Olive Kigongo. But I think she is not present here.
But if you excuse me, Madam Kagona comes from the Ministry of Trade. So I think if you have to give her 5 minutes, that would be very useful.
Sure. She's most welcome. You are most welcome, Ms. Kagona. And if you please come and share your views.
Hello?
Yes,
Thank
miss.
you. Are you getting me?
Yeah, we are.
Yes, I'm so grateful for participating in this important meeting. I want to thank the organizers and the High Commission for organizing such a meeting. Our ministry has already presented, and I just want to appreciate and take note of the issues raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kagona.
Thank you very much, and we will be in touch with you.
Thank you.
Now, friends, if any of us have some questions or some suggestions, please come forward and put your suggestions and questions. Do anybody have some questions or suggestions?
Sir, can I speak?
Yes, please.
Sir, I am SK Singh. We are based in Ghaziabad and manufacturing nitrogen injection system for oil field transformers. Are you hearing me, please, sir?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Sir, I was interested
But your
to just...
video is muted.
Sir, I was opening, but it is not able to open.
Okay,
You have
no
muted
issue, no issues. Please carry on.
Just I try, sir, 1 second. So just I have sent a message also that we are manufacturing this for oil field transformers firefighting system, and we are also taking turnkey projects in India also, and abroad also in Indonesia and Malaysia. So just to assist me how we can just approach and can expand our business in Uganda, just I would like to say and request if anyone can coordinate, can associate, then I will be so happy and to expand our business. Thank you, sir, for listening me. My number is there. I send a message also. Hello. 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 Hello.
Yes, Mr. Singh.
Yes,
We are
sir.
listening.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have spoken all the things. I don't know whatever has been listened or whatever has been missed due to this net problem. Just I want to expand the business. Since we are manufacturer of this nitrogen injection system for oil field transformers, if anybody can assist and can link and can connect, we will be happy, and we would like to expand like this.
Mr. Sanjeev
Is it
Patel
clear?
Mr. Sanjeev Patel would like to
Yes.
answer something.
Sanjeev ji, please, you are muted. Please unmute yourself.
Mr. Singh, okay, I'm not in the business of what you are, but I'm happy even Winnie can take that answer. If you send us an email, we'll find you a suitable person to do business with, which we will get back to you within 48 hours once you send us the your details on our emails. We'll be able to get you somebody who's interested in your business if they're not within this group right now.
Sir, I would like to have the email ID where I can send my details.
I think Mr. Singh, thank you very much for raising that. We normally have a number of investors wanting to get connection and platforms that can easily fast track their businesses. I think what should happen is if you can, through RACAM, send us, because I'm sure the association would like to track how many of these businesses are coming from India. If you can send RACAM your profile and information, then we can start the process of identifying potential partners and bridging that gap, and also sharing, more in detail what that sector would have as incentives and as a process for partnership. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Vinny, actually Indian Industries Association will collect the data from all the members and all the queries, and then we will forward to you. And then,
thank you so much.
Yeah. IIA will take care.
Okay.
This is the right way. Or directly, sir, as we are sending the messages, so if anyone is interested directly, it can be done, I think, possibly. Is there any problem?
Mr. SK Singh, you just send your queries to IIA and definitely we will process.
Okay, sir.
Any other question from any of members?
I have a question. I have a question.
Mr. Satish Bhatnagar.
Yes, sir.
Madam Grace and Madam Winnie, the biggest thing that Uganda and India could do is MSME is very, very important, but we must have training also for the SMSE people, the grassroots training. I would suggest that you both the countries should form a union where we could train entrepreneurs in the MSME sector, because that is very, very important. The MSME sector should have class. You just said that you have got the young people in your country. The same as with India, we've also got young people. What I would suggest, we should join together, have forums, because our worthy Prime Minister is out for training. So we should combine that area also, both the countries. Thank you.
Well,
thank you, Bhatnagar sir.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's a fantastic.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's fantastic.
I think that's a fantastic suggestion, and I don't know what Winnie has to say, but I think she will agree with me. Winnie, what do you think? I think we take up the gentleman on that suggestion, and you go back with that. And also,
Joshua would like to say something.
That's the right man to answer that question. Very, very good. Come on, Joshua, tell them. Come.
Thank you, Honorable Ambassador, and the distinguished guests and the presenters. Good evening. Yes, Joshua Mtambi, the Commissioner of Pricing and Marketing. I thank you very much for that suggestion. in the ministry, the directorate, we are forming the MSME forum. And this MSME forum will bring together all the participants in the MSME sector, whereby we can start now seeing how we can facilitate them. So it is good that we are bringing this, we can work together in actualizing this. Thank you. And we're in the process of signing also an MOU together with the Uganda Investment Authority, with the National Small and Medium Industries Corporation of India. We have got this request and we are working on it. I hope we can conclude it soon.
Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a query for the exporters from India to Uganda, because their pre-shipment inspection compulsory for certain countries in Africa, like Kenya and so on, whereas no such restriction is applicable if we export to any developed countries. What's the situation for Uganda?
Somebody in the Ministry of Trade, either Kagona or Mutambi, can you answer that one?
I didn't get the question clearly.
We'll ask the gentleman to repeat it.
Yes. Certain countries, certain African countries, they have a regulations. If we export to them from India, pre-shipment inspection is compulsory. Whereas in developed countries, nothing as such. In Kenya, I'm sure things are applicable like that. What about Uganda? Have we to do pre-shipment inspection?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. Yes, Uganda has that policy of PFOC, pre-shipment inspection. So we expect all the exporters to our country to have those certificates of pre-shipment conformity, and we call it PFOC. So it applies, but that one, if the manufacturer is an exporter of new machinery, new products, there are different categories that can be exempted from PFOC, but otherwise it's a requirement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, friends. I think there are no more questions and time is really running out. We are already 20 minutes late. So now I'd like to request our president, Mr. Pankaj Gupta, for her address, for his address, sorry.
Thank you very much. Giving me this opportunity again. So because there is a very valuable and good suggestions from our entrepreneurs and from our esteemed guest from Uganda. Sanjeev Patel has given a lot of encouragement to invest the money, invest, to increase the business in Uganda, because as he rightly said, Uganda is a very nice place, and we have very good relation also. Indians always, prefer country like Uganda. So definitely, the initiation of this meeting, initiation of this interaction, this was only because we were in such a green situation nowadays. The onset of this pandemic, there has been challenging time of the SMEs. Many have lost their livelihood. So at this scenario, if we are talking and we are taking initiative, and our so many members, exporters and people who are willing to export to the country like Uganda, so they will definitely come up. And this is first time we are interacting each other, and hope our international affair team, they will approach you more and they will try to get more information from you. Har has given one thing very clearly, that Uganda has somebody is speaking. Somebody wants to say something, I think. So my at the end of this session, before vote of thanks, I will just say this is very fruitful meeting, webinar, and we have exchanged our views to the Ugandan guests, and they have given us a lot of information also. Our people may also, they have got so many queries. So for that, we really need that Ms. Rekha and our chairman, Sumneshi, will contact ambassador and the embassy to promote our business to Uganda, and we'll get more information from them. So thank you very, very much, Her Excellency and the other guests. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pankaj. Now I invite, for vote of thanks, I invite Mr. Somnesh Agrawal.
अवनीश अश्विनी जी, मिस्टर सुरिंदर कालरा हमारे साथ है पीएचडी चैम्बर से, जो कि ब्लॉकचेन पर काम करते हैं. He is very senior consultant and he has some question, I guess. He have mentioned in the question bar. Can you please ask your question, Kalra Sahab?
Okay, thank you, madam. My question is that we are providing solutions in IR40 technologies, which are high-end IT solutions in blockchain, IoT, artificial intelligence, robotics, particularly in the manufacturing and agriculture sector. Our concept on introduction of IR40 technology into the agriculture sector has been appreciated by United Nations FAO and Asia Productivity Council at Tokyo. So we would like to have a certain thought process to work in the agriculture sector, particularly in Uganda, for the implementation of latest technologies, because agriculture has always been much behind as far as technology implementation is concerned. It is only the manufacturing and others that take the benefit of this. If this is included and implemented in agriculture sector, it is there is a thought process that almost there would be 1.5 times increase in agriculture production as well as reduction in carbon emissions.
Kalra Sahab, I would like to say one thing in this. We will definitely, you are doing very good work, and we will take all these expertise to next level, because this is the initial meeting and we are going to take it for next 1 year. At that time, we will definitely we will promote your services to our members and Ugandan SMEs.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you for your information.
Thank you.
Thank you for your information.
Okay.
Yeah, Ashwini ji.
Thank you, Surinder.
Yeah,
Thank
please.
you, Rekha. And now I'll invite Mr. Somnesh Agrawal for vote of thanks. He is the chairperson of International Affairs and Export-Import Committee of IIA. So, please, Somnesh ji.
I, on behalf of members of Indian Industries Association, would like to take this opportunity to thank Her Excellency Madam Grace Aquila, High Commissioner of Uganda to India. I would like to thank Mr. Emmanuel Matahunga, Acting Commissioner for External Trade, Ministry of Trade, Industries and Cooperation, Uganda. He himself is an economist, so his information was very informative, which he gave to us on the present scenario with trade policies and incentives, which will help us for sure. I would like to thank Ms. Winnie Lavoko, Director, SME Technology and Innovations, Uganda Investment Authority. She herself is not only an MBA, but an entrepreneur herself. So it would be a great pleasure for all of us to join hands with Uganda under her leadership and to contact her again and again. She apprised us about the foreign investment policy of Uganda, the opportunities available there and the incentives we can get while establishing in Uganda. It was a great pleasure for us knowing that pulses are being grown there in a big way, which India consumes a lot. And at the moment, our main exporting country to India is Australia. But if when we join hands with Uganda, definitely Uganda would be beneficial from us, and we can get much pulses or of our taste when Mr. Sanjeev Patel is there, who knows about the taste of India. He can help the Ugandan growers also what our requirements are. From the Ministry of Commerce, we thank Ms. Kagona. For a while, we missed her a lot. We were hunting for her here and there. Finally, we got her, and next we thank Mr. Sanjeev Patel, who came to us and for inviting us to come to Uganda, just spending a couple of $1,000 visiting Uganda and see with our own eyes what we can do there. For us, as you must have, madam, you must have heard, ease of doing business is growing in India under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, who's always trying his best to ease business in India since he came to power in 2012. Whereas the similar policies are already being adopted by Uganda, especially since 1986, under the worthy leadership of His Excellency, Honorable President of Uganda, Mr. Yoweri Museveni. I thank Mr. Dhananjay Sharma from FEO, who had to go in between the meeting, who guided us the current scenario for the international trade between India and Uganda. Furthermore, I thank you all for accepting our request to spare your valuable time and being with us and guide us and our members, who comprise mainly from small and medium scale sector. As you know, and Mr. Ashwani Khandelwal has already informed you, 30% of our national GDP comprises from the small scale sector, whereas 40% of the employment is generated in this sector, and 40% of the total exports from the country is also from small scale sector. Their guidance, all your guidance is really fruitful in seeking knowledge that how the trade between the two countries can be enhanced, how we in India and brothers in Uganda can be benefited, and especially during this global crisis. Lastly, but not the least, I would like to thank Ms. Sophie Birungi, First Secretary of Uganda High Commission in Delhi, who was in regular contact with our Rekha Sharma from our side for arranging such a fantastic meeting, and the credit of today's successful meeting goes to both of them. I am not only hopeful but confident that whenever we or any of our members would require any help in establishing business relations in Uganda or establishing factories on either side, they would be very kind. They would very kindly assist us. Thank you very much once again. Thank you, and long live Uganda and Indian relationship. Thank you, Rekha ji, once again for arranging this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandesh.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
And stay safe.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Take care.
So much. Thanks to all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to all. Thanks to all.
Thanks to all.
Good initiative, sir. Thank you.